Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Woodburn Accountants and Advisors July webinar series, all about getting ahead of the growth opportunity in China. What I've been seeing in the last 7 months has been interesting. China is on everybody's international expansion agenda, but there is still quite a lot of fear and hesitation about going into the market. And a lot of this fear and hesitation is not necessarily around the commercial side of the business, it is around the administrative side of the business. So I have developed this month's webinar series to calm those fears and talk about what needs to get done or how to handle the company that you're looking to establish in China. Over the next 5 days, we're going to be looking at trademark registrations. We're going to be looking at setting up your companies. We're going to be looking at how to communicate with your Chinese accountant. We're going to be looking at how to hire those first employees that you want on board and how you're going to manage those first employees. And then last but not least, we're going to look at how to choose people for the corporate management structure for the entity you plan on establishing, which does bring out a lot of hesitation amongst people that are chosen to be on that corporate management structure. So today is Monday. We're going to start talking about the first topic, which is how to save your brand in China. And again, all of these topics are about how to get ahead of the growth opportunity because there is a growth opportunity in China. What I want to make sure is that people are not fixated on the administrative and compliance issues, but that all of that is smooth flowing so that everyone can focus on the actual opportunity and actually gain growth in the Chinese market. Before we start today's session, as I like to do with all of my webinars, is to figure out who's in my audience. So we're not such a large community today, but it would be wonderful if you could tell me a little bit about yourself. So are you a newbie to China, meaning you found an opportunity or you know there's an opportunity in China for your product or services? You're here to gain a certain level of education on how to protect your business and again, manage those compliance issues and administrative issues. Or are you a startup in China, meaning you've transacted in China 1 to 3, 5 years. Your focus has been really on the core commercial functions, and now you're getting into issues and they're becoming uncontrollable. And you need to figure out how to manage those in order to be able to place your focus on the commercial side of the business again. Or are you an experienced China hand, which is self-explanatory. You've been in China for a certain number of years, and maybe you're looking to gain some insight. So in the chat box, open that up. Please just quickly type in. There's only 6 of you guys on right now. Are you a newbie, startup, experienced China hand? Again, always gives me great insight into who the audience is. Please don't be lazy. Please do type something in. How the webinar works. I'm here to educate you. I'm here to teach you. If I'm not clear or transparent, or there's something where you have doubt in your mind, please insert that into the chat box again. I will touch on it during the Q&A. It is a first come, first serve. So the sooner you ask your questions or place your comments, the sooner I will answer them during the Q&A. If you need to log off, we are recording today's session, so you will be able to look back at the recording. I will answer all the questions. So even if you've logged off, be assured I will answer it, and you can go back to that answer later on when at your own convenience. There is no dumb question when it comes to China. Ask away. That's the whole point of these webinar sessions, is that we learn from each other. We learn from our experiences. Everybody has had different experiences. So just ask your questions and your comments. If you are too shy to do that, or it's too personal, then I will provide you my contact details at the end of the session once everybody is logged in. From a technical standpoint, we are using Zoom meeting. I cannot help you if you run into technical issues as I am presenting. So my only suggestion is to log off, log back in, and hopefully that works. If it doesn't, just remember we are recording today's session. So you'll be able to look back at the recordings. If it happens to me, it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes for me to reboot, and then I'll be coming on to finish today's session. If you have the ability to stay on, please stay on. If you don't, I apologize up front. I sometimes don't have control over this, but just know I will be coming on to finish today's presentation. So your China expert for the week is me. My name is Christina Kohler-Kalucha. I'm the head of business advisory at Woodburn Accountants and Advisors, and I will be presenting all 5 sessions this week. We won't be having any guest speakers. To give you a little bit background about who and what I am a leading expert on inbound investment into China. I have 17 years, almost 18 years of on-the-ground experience, being based out of Shanghai, managing purely corporate services for foreign invested companies. What does that mean? It means we do all of the administrative and compliance issues surrounding a company that has been established in China as well as in Hong Kong. So we incorporate those, we administer those, and we manage those entities to make sure that you can sleep at night and you know that everything is going well. We've helped over 500 international companies expand into the Hong Kong and Chinese market, helping them with their pre-investment stage, their strategy development, their implementation, and then finally their growth, which is really what is the most fun part about the job. What has been beautiful about China in recent years has been the fact that it has become quite a systemized process to do things from a compliance perspective. So as such, I've created webinars like the ones you will see this week, which show you a system process on what you need to do and what action you need to take in order to make sure that the structures you establish in China are bulletproof or almost bulletproof, let's say 80% bulletproof, because you never know what obstacles are going to pop up along the journey. But it has been wonderful to be able to create these methodologies so that companies can have guidance and see how much easier it is to set up and operate in China. If you're interested in those, these are all the methodologies I'm going to be doing this week. The China roadmap I recorded last week. If you're interested in that, let me know. I can send you the on-demand version, but all the others I'm doing this week. And if you guys, since it's summer holiday and many of you will be going on vacation and you need something to read, then please check out our new book, which has been launched on Amazon. It's called The 9 Superpowers to Succeed in China. And it provides you insights about the China roadmap, the 9 superpowers you need to achieve, that you need to be consistent on in order to build momentum and growth in the Chinese market, are all within this book. It is basically the idea of having tools and tips on how to create your own journey, because everybody is in a different industry sector. Everybody will have different obstacles that come in their pathway, but the principles of how to do business in China are in this book and are easy to grasp so that you can implement them into your own operation. Go on Amazon, any Amazon, and you will be able to find it. So to start off today's presentation, we're looking at how to save your brand in China, which is easy. And it was one of the mistakes that I did. Simple as that. That's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I talk about it a lot, because I've done it. I did not register my trademark in China. As a consequence, somebody off the street did, sent me a cease and desist email telling me to stop using my brand in China. And then very tough decisions had to be made, whether we were going to take legal action or rebrand. I spent, I don't even know, probably between 3 and 6 months on figuring out what to do and then taking action on that. And my focus was purely on that, which meant that for that fiscal year, for 3 to 6 months, I was focusing on this brand issue versus focusing on the growth of the business. I don't want anybody to have to experience that. If you are interested in China, if China is part of your international expansion strategy, if you are planning in 10 years to go into China, but you are listening to this recording, then it means you are still interested in China and you need to save your brand because somebody will take it. I have a client, which is a newish cosmetics brand, and they had zero intention of going into China. The idea was to go into 3-4 years. They still proactively came to me to register their trademarks. Lo and behold, their mark had already been registered in China because there was media attention, global media attention, placed on it in the US, Canada, and in the UK. And people in China found out about it, registered it, and now we are going through an opposition appeal to get it back. Okay, so keep in mind that there are folks out there who will take advantage and leverage over this if you don't take action today. And I'm going to highlight today how easy it is to get it done, what decisions you have to make, and what action you have to take. Okay. So what we're covering today is everything to do with trademarks and eventually talking about having a trademark strategy. And I'm going to be touching on things about doing monitoring on social media sites, doing monitoring on e-commerce platforms, doing monitoring on the Chinese search engines, and understanding that there are folks out there who may be utilizing your brand in China without you even being aware of it. So it is important to monitor that you are creating a safe environment for your brand in China, that nobody is demeaning it, bringing it down, making it inferior, but that you are maintaining it as a foreign brand that is entering the Chinese market. Why should you be concerned by protecting your brand in China? Because of IP squatters, because of IP hijackers, and because anybody can do it. Anybody can register your brand. It can be your suppliers, can be your customers, can be your agents, can be your employees, can be your right-hand wingman who does it behind your back. Could be anybody. Literally anybody. Okay? For me, it was a guy off the street who saw the amount of marketing and branding I was doing, leveraged the situation, registered it, and sent me an email to say you can buy it from me if you like. Or stop using it in totality in the China region. Okay? Random guy, had zero connection with our firm, lived all the way out in the tier 3 city, but saw my branding because I made the mistake of sending 5-star hotels copies of my magazine, which was in hard copy, so that they could keep it in their business centers, which they did, and someone found it probably and just registered it. Okay, so all of that marketing effort and branding effort that I put in, wasted because I had to rebrand. Now, I want you to evaluate. There's always a financial value behind a brand. Okay? How much is your brand worth to you? How much is your brand worth to the business? What is that financial value that you can place on your brand? If you're able to do that, then that should give you incentive enough to go today to register your mark if you haven't done so. Okay. Now for this client of mine, who's a cosmetics brand, he's brand new. So his financial value, the financial worth of the brand was still very small, but he knew the potential of it. So even if you have a new brand that you're starting to market, starting to build campaigns around, what is the potential of that brand globally or even within that market? Again, normally financial incentives are going to push you to take action. So I'm going to bring this up again at the end of today's presentation. What is the value of your brand? And then something I haven't added in here, but I'm going to tell you from personal experience. What is the time resource that you have available to you to rebrand if you need to? And then more importantly, what is the financial resource you have to purchase the brand from somebody who's already registered it? Because they can throw out any number. And if you look back and you look at articles, not publications, but actual news articles about brands like Nike, like the top brands, guys. Look at the top sporting brands, cosmetics brands, fashion brands, where they've had issues with their trademark, where there's been trademark infringement. Look at how much money they've spent on lawyers to get it back. I don't have that type of financial capital like they do to fight. Do you? And if you don't, then go register it today. Again, I just want to emphasize, this is something that is so minuscule in the grand picture of things when you're thinking about China, and nobody does it. I'm completely honest with you. It is at the bottom of everybody's priority list because they're like, oh, you know, we'll do it eventually. Yeah, that's what I was telling myself too. I'll do it eventually. Ridiculous that I did it, that I didn't do it, sorry. So let's look at trademarks in China. What does it mean? And we'll look on at the actual administrative side of things. Okay, so what is a trademark, or what is considered a trademark in China? It's any visual sign, any word, logo design, letters of an alphabet, numerals, symbols, combination of colors. It is whatever you have evaluated as being a brand asset. Okay, it is something that is going to distinguish your service or your product from competitors, from other people, from other types of products, whatever it might be. Okay, I'm going to use Woodburn as an example. And as you will see on the left-hand side of your screen, I have the logo, which is the circle with the WB inside. And then I've got the words, which is Woodburn Accountants and Advisors. Okay. The logo is what is called a device, and Woodburn Accountants and Advisors is what is called a word mark. And then I do all my marketing by actually putting the two together. Okay, so you've got the logo and the word mark together. Now you need to evaluate, all right, what do you care about the most? What is critical to your business? What brings the financial value to your company? For us, the logo, it's just a logo. I could also live without it. It doesn't mean much to me. I could live without it anywhere in the world, because what is of value is Woodburn Accountants and Advisors, which is the name of our company, and myself, my name, right? So for me, when I did the registration in China to, again, lower the financial cost, we just registered Woodburn Accountants and Advisors because, again, if somebody else takes the logo, it's fine. It just looks pretty. But that's my evaluation. That's our evaluation for our company. You need to make an evaluation on your assets to say, what are you going to use in the Chinese market for branding, marketing, campaigns, that you put on your packaging, that you put as labels, whatever it might be, okay? And you need to evaluate that. I can always take the logo out. For me, it's not a big deal. So if somebody wants to take it today, somebody can take it today. It's fine, okay? I just did it as a financial decision to lower the cost of registering the trademarks. Completely up to you. If you feel, and I'm using ours as an example, that the logo is critical to the business, the words are critical to the business, and you're going to be using it in conjunction one with the other, then you should be doing the 3 registrations. So registrations for each item. So that means 3, the logo, the word mark, and the combination. And getting that done in the classes and subclasses where you are physically doing business and the types of activities that you're going to be performing on the ground. Again, this is all about evaluating what you are using in the market. Now, who should be registering their trademark in China? You see a long list there. If you're trading, if you're manufacturing, if you're doing service, if you just have a rep office, if you have a temporary marketing office, if you have an overseas company with no subsidiary in China, but you're just transacting with China, if you're about to market into China, if you are traveling to China for trade shows or actually for commercial activity, and you're representing your company, you're giving out name cards and brochures and marketing material, right? If you're exporting, if you are, whatever it might be, you should be registering your trademark. Everyone doing business in China should be registering their trademark. Everyone. And I just want to highlight here, this is not unique to China. There's a lot of confusion on that. If you are doing business in the US, right, and doing all of these things, or one of these items here on this list, you should be registering your trademark in the US. If you're doing one of these things in the UK, you should be registering your trademark. If you're doing one of these things in Australia, you should be registering your trademark. If you're doing it in Germany, registering your trademark, okay? This is not unique to China, guys. It's unique globally to the whole concept of trademark registrations, okay? I have clients who've said, oh, but Christina, I'm only providing a service. Yeah, so was I. I'm only providing a service and somebody took my brand. I've had clients who've said, oh, well, I'm just manufacturing in China. I'm not going to sell there. I'm going to do export. I only care about where I'm selling the product. Doesn't matter. And I've got a case study on that I'll highlight at the end. Whatever you are doing in China, visiting trade shows, visiting people, talking, we're not visiting anymore. We're talking to people on Zooms. You should still be registering your trademarks. Everyone doing business in China, communicating with people in China should be registering their trademark. If you are a brand that is being created at the moment and your intention is to make it a global brand, your first objective is to go speak to your local lawyer and say, I want to register my brand in the top 10 jurisdictions globally. US, Canada, UK, Germany, China, Japan, Australia, wherever it might be. So it's done. Okay, again, this is not unique to China. This is how the trademark world works. All right. In China, though, this is my recommendation around trademarks. It's search the trademark database before filing for registration. Because what we want to do is we want to make sure that nobody has taken it. Okay? We want to do a trademark search to make sure that we will have a over 60% success rate when registering your trademark. Okay? So we have to analyze what brand assets we want to register. We have to look at the classes we want to register in. We're going to look at the subclasses as well. We're going to see what's there, make sure that the assets that we want to register are available. And just out of curiosity, we should be checking whether there's anything that is similar to your assets. Okay? So you're aware and privy of what's actually available on the market. Trademark search is very important. We do not want to waste time. So let's figure out first what our percentage rate of success is. Otherwise, we are registering our mark and waiting 9 months until we get a notification that you cannot register the mark. Let's not waste time. We don't want to do that. So let's be prepared, let's be proactive, and let's do a trademark search. Not difficult to do. The concept in China is maybe unique to other jurisdictions. I'm not actually 100% sure. But the concept is it's a first to file system. Whoever files it first has ownership over the mark, regardless of where you have actually registered it. So even though you might be a huge brand in UK or in US, if you haven't registered it in China, then you're going to lose out. Now, with this client that I'm working on right now, which is this cosmetics brand, we caught the person who is filing the mark in China at the right time to be able to file an opposition appeal because the trademark is not fully registered. It's still in the process where we can file an appeal to be able to get the mark back. So perfect timing. All right. And we've got the proofs of the success in other jurisdictions, and that the timing is too coincidental that, you know, the person who has filed it is doing it for suspicious reasons. Okay. So that's just has to do with timing. All right. But if you don't have that timing and you realize too late, then basically it means that your trademarks are legally owned by another individual or company. And it ultimately means you are locked out of the Chinese market, unless you purchase that mark from that owner, or you rebrand, or you go through legal litigation to get it back and to show proof that they have done it in a malicious form. And that's all the choices you've got. Now, I mean, again, I'm just going to reemphasize here. Who wants to spend time on litigation? Who wants to actually spend money to buy your own brand? And who wants to rebrand? Nobody. Nobody wants to go through with that. Okay. So what do you want to do? Basically, what you want to do is you want to search that your trademark is available. So you want to do this trademark search, and you want to see what success rate you're going to have if you go through the application. You need to evaluate what you're going to register. Okay, what brand assets are you going to register? How many brand assets are you going to register? Remember that if your brand has a city name or country name or a president's name in it, it will not get registered. So if, because this is fresh in my mind, if you have a company called Cambridge XYZ, Cambridge is the name of a city, you won't get it registered. Now, remember this. If you have the name of a city or country or a Chinese president in the name, you don't have to worry because nobody can register it. Nobody's ever going to take that from you. Okay, so if it's there, you can still use your name. You can still do marketing and branding because it's not able to be registered. Okay, because there's this requirement that no cities, countries can be in the name. If you've got the name Germany Textile Systems Company Limited, well, that name isn't going to be utilized either because it has Germany in it. If you have a company name where the actual function or the unique engineering process or manufacturing process is in the name, that also won't be registered because a unique process, a unique service process or manufacturing process is open to anybody to be able to use that process for manufacturing. So it just means nobody can register it. It does not mean you can't do branding with it. It just means you can't register it as a trademark. That's it. Okay. If you've got questions on that, because sometimes that stumps people, let me know. You can put that into the chat box and I can clarify that during the Q&A again. You've got to decide on who's going to own that trademark. Will it be your parent company? Will it be a holding company? Will it be your Chinese company? I would never, ever recommend the Chinese company because ultimately you want to create a repatriation strategy to get money out of China eventually. Or you might want to create a licensing agreement with third parties to get money for the use of your brand assets in China. You can only get money out. You can only invoice from overseas if you've made sure that an overseas entity has registered it. So you need to make that decision who's going to own those trademarks. And then you've got to understand and evaluate what activities are you performing in China with what products or services. So take an A4 paper, list the activities that you're going to be doing, list the products and services you're going to be dealing with, and then we will analyze what classes and subclasses you have to choose. If you have already gone through that process because what you're doing is universal in other jurisdictions, then we can just take your trademark registration from wherever you've registered, UK, US, Australia, and look at those classes and subclasses and then copy them into the Chinese version. Okay. So those are the 4 things you got to do. Let me reiterate. Do a trademark search. evaluate the assets you want to register, know who you want to own those trademarks in China, evaluate what classes and subclasses you want to be in. That's all you've got to decide on. Okay, and you can get help for that. Who are the enemies? Ultimately, the enemies are literally anybody off the street, but we've created terms for that. We've got trademark hijackers, and we've got trademark squatters, IP squatters. So IP squatters, trademark hijackers. Ultimately, what these people are doing is that they are taking leverage over the fact that you haven't registered your mark in China. Can't blame them. They're all thinking to earn money from you guys. Okay? Everybody wants to earn a buck. The only people I'm going to blame is you for not actually getting it done. If you've left it out in the open for other people to take, and you have to consider this not just for China, but for every jurisdiction you want to operate in. Okay? It's open. It's an open market. Anybody can take it. Okay? So these guys are just leveraging off the market. I know in the UK, people who register domains and make a nice salary of doing that because they're selling it then to the brands. So it's not just a Chinese thing or an Asian thing, it's anything, all right? Let's not start bringing out those comments because I know that this happens also in the US and in the UK. People will take leverage if you don't do the work. So you've got the trademark hijackers in China, you've got the IP squatters, who are basically local individuals, local Chinese businesses that register the trademarks in their own company names or as individuals. And what they're going to do is once they see you in the market and once they see that you have started marketing and branding in the market, they're going to approach you and say, okay, you've got a couple of choices. Either you pay me a licensing fee, either you buy out the brand from me, or I will sue you for infringement. So stop, cease and desist. That's the letter that I got. Okay? And you don't know what numbers they're going to throw out. There's no evaluation placed on that. Okay? So what we want to avoid going into the market is that somebody else takes your brand and tarnishes the reputation that you're trying to build. Okay? We don't want somebody to take your brand and sell inferior products or services. We don't want somebody to start marketing and branding with a similar product, but it's inferior to yours. We don't want anybody to tarnish the image and the reputation that you're trying to build in the Chinese market. All right. Same with IP squatters. They are there again to register because they perceive the value of your assets. And eventually they're going to ask for licensing fees, or they're going to try and sell you the trademarks that actually belong to you. And why go through that? And again, these IP squatters or these trademark hijackers can be anybody, can be distributors, can be agents, can be suppliers, can be employees, can be a guy off of the street that's who has seen a media report about your brand. Can even be somebody who has, through Little Red Book, seen somebody purchase your product overseas and been like, whoa, that's cool. Let me just check. Is that name available? Let me register it. Because there are Chinese, overseas Chinese, that are purchasing your products and maybe promoting them, being like, oh, look what I just bought, a new pair of shoes, and it's fantastic. And hey, look at this. And somebody sees that little video and then registers the trademark. So even if you are a brand that's catering to the overseas Chinese, I mean, it's still the Chinese market, guys. Right? So if somebody owns your IP in China, what does this mean for you? Ultimately, before taking any action, it means it's illegal for you to sell any goods or services bearing that mark or bearing that brand or asset name. It's illegal for you to manufacture or source goods with that mark or brand name. It's illegal for you to provide any service locally bearing that mark or that name. It's illegal for you to market yourself or brand yourself bearing that mark or name. Likely that any goods you do manufacture in China, even through third parties, will be seized by customs as counterfeit goods. And it is possible for the Chinese registrant to freely manufacture goods, sell goods, export goods with your brand name. unless you registered it in the jurisdiction where he's selling it to. Then he can't do that. He can't export it, but he can still manufacture it domestically and sell it domestically. Okay. And again, this is happening in every jurisdiction. This is what happens in the world of trademarks. The same principle applies in the US, same principle applies in Australia, same principle applies in Canada. It applies in every jurisdiction around the world. So what should your trademark strategy for China be for brand protection? And on, here I've put e-commerce platforms, but I want to emphasize that it's on any social media platform, e-commerce platform, or even Chinese search engine. Okay. As mentioned, okay, those 4 steps that I highlighted earlier about doing trademark search, evaluating the assets, who's going to own the trademark, to evaluating the classes and subclasses, right? This is just an extension of that. It's saying, understand what classes and subclasses you need to be registered in. So you have 2 options here. Take a pen and paper, list the activities you're going to be doing in China, what types of products and services you're going to be performing. We then create that class and subclass list for you. Alternatively, you take the registrations you've done in your home jurisdictions, and we just copy and paste that into the Chinese version. Okay. Then we do a trademark search. If there are no problems, then we file as soon as possible. I'm going to show you a document list that's required. It's 4 pieces of paper. Very easy. Then you may, if you are particularly in, I mean, I don't want to just say service. I was going to say if you're particularly in a area where you are selling products, but it's also related to services. If you are in an area where you're scared that somebody is going to imitate or copy your products, then you should engage a monitoring service to see whether your brand is already being promoted online, used online. And when I say online, it's not just the e-commerce platforms, it's also the social media platforms, as well as the search engines. Okay. Now you can do that, those searches yourself, obviously, if you have access to the platforms, or you engage a monitoring service to do that. If you are engaged in e-commerce in China, you can adopt an online brand strategy, and you then have, there's a technology that you can invest in that does the monitoring on your behalf. Again, that's quite a heavy investment that you have to make for that technology. Alternatively, you can just have a monitoring service do that on your behalf. If you find that somebody is in the process of filing your trademark, not yet registered, like my client, or somebody has already filed your trademark, then you can go to an IP lawyer or corporate service provider to represent you, and to either do the opposition appeal or to have negotiations with the owner of the mark to understand what the counteractive action will be, right? Will it be that you purchase the mark? Will it be that you get a licensing fee? Will it be that you rebrand? Will you maybe take it to civil litigation? Will custom seizures of goods occur? All of that, okay? Tips on how to find infringing products online. So online, again, means e-commerce platforms, search engines, and social media platforms, okay? So what you can do is you can search for names which are identical or similar to your brand or product name or service name, okay? Just do a search function. You can also search, and what I mean by search, it's like you go into Tmall and you go to the search function and you type in your brand name or a similar brand name or your product name. Or if you go to Baidu or Bing.com or .cn, you type in your name and you see what pops up on the first page. Or you go to social media platforms like WeChat or others. And again, you type your name and you see what pops up. And what you might also want to do is just go to Google Translate, translate your company name. You'll get maybe a couple of Chinese different versions and pinyin, look at the pinyin, and you can type those in and see also what pops up. So you can do a quick search yourself and see what's coming up. Alternatively, you can get a monitoring service. We don't do that. It's a monitoring service that actually goes in and does those searches for you. You might even find that your branding company or marketing company will do that for you. Are the Chinese platforms helping in the fight of infringement? Yes, they are, especially the e-commerce platforms. There was a law, there's an e-commerce, one of the e-commerce laws that came out in 2019 basically states that the platforms will be responsible if they are selling infringed goods, i.e. goods that are being sold by individuals or companies that do not rightly own the trademarks for those brands. This is why that when you actually want to set up an e-commerce store on an e-commerce platform, one of the documents that is required is the trademark certificate that the marks have been registered in China. All of these platforms highlighted here, as well as a bunch of others, also have English-speaking hotlines where you can report infringement acts that have been found, okay? And again, your monitoring service should be able to detect that. The application to actually file your trademark, so easy. You need a power of attorney that somebody locally can submit the forms. You need to fill out a registration order. That is, the template is provided for whoever's got the power of attorney to do it, where you provide the classes and subclasses that you want to register. You also provide information on who's going to be the owner. Then you provide a soft copy of the trademarks or the brand assets you want to register in JPEG. And then we need just a proof, i.e. a passport copy of the individual who's going to own the trademarks or a company that is going to own the trademark, so business license. Not complicated. Actually, very easy. All right, this is something that nobody should have compliance issues over or feel like this is overwhelming, okay? And again, I am the idiot who didn't register the mark, guys. I've gone through this. I kick myself for not having done it based on how easy it is. And I just kept putting it to the bottom of the priority list myself, okay? It's painful when it doesn't go right. It is easy peasy lemon squeezy. If there's anything that's easy to do in China, it's trademark registrations. Again, don't think, just do. All right. And if you don't just do, be prepared that someone will take leverage over it. Like I said, the minute you start branding yourself globally and people start talking about your brand, you will find that people in China will become aware of you. And as a result of that, they may take leverage and register your marks. To safeguard your brand, there are 3 steps. One is register your IP rights, i.e. register your trademarks. If you've got patents, register your patents, obviously, and your copyrights. I highly recommend getting a monitoring service, and I'm sure they have different packages, where you can monitor e-commerce sites, social media sites, and search engines to make sure that the reputation you are trying to build in China remains stable. And then, if you want to take, or let me put it another way, sorry. If you find somebody who is infringing on your brand assets, you can't take them down unless you register your mark yourself, okay? So if you're doing this monitoring, but you still haven't registered your trademark, I mean, if you've submitted the application, you're fine. But if you haven't registered your trademark or you haven't submitted the application, and you suddenly find somebody infringing, you can't do anything. How can you? You have no leverage in China. You haven't done anything in China. You can only request takedowns of counterfeits or infringing goods or products or services if you've actually registered your marks. And I just want to highlight here, if you have registered your marks and you do find people that are infringing or counterfeiting, please do take action, because the Chinese government is adamant about stopping people. They want to stop the IP squatters and the trademark hijackers. They do want you to take action. They can't take action on your behalf. And I just want to highlight, this is the same principle in every jurisdiction. It's not just unique to China, okay? If somebody were to counterfeit or infringe your goods in the US, you have to take action. The government isn't going to take action on your behalf. All right? So you have to take action. And most of the time, your monitoring service will be able to coordinate that action if you want to take it. Okay. So register IP, monitor, and request takedowns if it does happen. And it's all in the name of saving your brand and saving the reputation that you're trying to build in China. All right. Got 2 case studies for you. And those of you that have been on previous webinars, you may have heard these 2 case studies, but really, I just want to highlight them again today. You've heard mine. So just another 2 here today. So this is a German company that produces locks. 20, 30 years ago, they entered the Chinese market. They had an exclusive distribution agreement with a company, with a distributor in China. In those days, you've got to imagine that nobody expected China to open as much as it has to allow foreign investors to do business in China. And they allowed the distributor, who had exclusive rights, to register their trademarks on their behalf, not thinking about licensing agreements or profit repatriation. Lo and behold, 5, 10 years ago, more than that, maybe 10 years ago now, this company decided that they wanted to take the distributor out of the supply chain and do the work themselves, because the volume and value of the business had grown to a level where they could do it on their own. And of course, they forgot about the trademark. And the distributor was very happy to say, well, I'm happy your business is growing, but could we do it in a phased approach where you for the next 2 years, you still use me, and then we'll move, 80% or 20% of the business to your company. And we do it in a slow progression that I don't from literally overnight lose out on everything. Fair enough. And, he had the leverage. He owned the trademark. And he said, by the end of this phased approach, I will release the trademark ownership to you. And in the meantime, there'll be a licensing agreement and arrangement, which is peanuts. Okay. But this allowed at least the distributor to not lose the business overnight. Of course, the German company extremely upset that they had to go through that process because it disrupted the strategy that they were developing for the Chinese market. And I don't necessarily blame them, because 20 to 30 years ago, who would have known what was going on in China? We know better now. We're 20 to 30 years on, and we're learning from other people's mistakes. So nobody has the ability to now say to me, oh, well, I didn't know. Or who would have ever predicted China would turn out like this? You can't tell me that. Okay? You can't tell me that you weren't prepared. You can't tell me that you didn't have the ability to be proactive. Okay? We're learning from other people's mistakes. So let's do it right. Let's avoid those obstacles and those roadblocks that appear during our own journeys. This company was a company purely producing in China. And their experience was that they had about between 80 and 100 different suppliers. They had a falling out with one supplier, terminated the contract overnight, and the supplier took action and registered the trademark because they had never done it, because their feeling was, we're never selling it to China, no need to register the trademark. And as a result, upon export from the other suppliers, all the goods were seized at customs and unable to be exported. Because the supplier not only registered the trademark at the CTMO office, the China Trademark Office, but also at the official customs bureau. And basically, they inform the customs, if anything comes through with my trademark, with my brand asset, please stop it and seize it. They are infringing. So they went through a litigation process. They were able to show that the supplier had registered in bad faith, but consider the time spent pivoting the business so that those products that didn't have the brand name on it could be shipped out through plain cartons. Hence you see the photo of the plain cartons. And those that did have the brand name were stuck and seized at customs. So again, no matter what you are doing in China, you have to register your mark. And like I said, this is not unique to China. This is the same anywhere in the world. Whatever business you are doing in China, you've got to register your mark. The importance of protecting your brand is vital. And I know it seems like such a simple administrative process that you put it off, you put it off, you put it off. Because you know that once you have time, you'll do it very quickly. The minute you put it off and you keep putting it off, somebody will take it. Don't put it off. Just get it done, okay? Because we want to protect the brand and use it in the Chinese market. We want to be able to clear customs and trade with the mark on cartons, labels, packaging. We want to help provide, you might want to provide services in China where your mark is going to be visible, okay? We don't want anybody to have the freedom to take your mark from you. Why would we want to give that control away? And if you do have the intention eventually of having your own entity in China, then we can develop repatriation strategies like trademark licensing agreements, which is one form of getting your profit out of China into your home jurisdiction, which I know is another fear people have about leaving capital on the ground in China. But how can you develop a repatriation strategy if you don't own your trademark? You can't. All right. So it is important, it is vital, it is also important for the development of your business over time. That's the end of the presentation. I would love to hear what your biggest takeaway was from today's presentation. Let me know. This is how you can work with Woodburn and with myself, is we can help you with brand advisory, put you in the right direction. We can help you with trademark search and registrations, and we can also set up repatriation strategies if you're at that stage with your company establishment in China. And if you want to set up a call with me, I'm just going to add these contact details into the chat box so that you have them. There you go. And you can reach out to me personally if you want to have a chat. Oh, I think I only sent this to one person. Hold on, let me resend that. Send to everybody. There we go. There's one question that came in from Jan, which was, will you talk about patents also? I won't be talking about patents, Jan, because I'm not a patent expert. Patents are extremely tricky because you need to have qualified individuals on staff who understand the technology and the science behind what you're looking to patent. So that really comes in the realm of IP lawyers who have those individuals on staff who can do that type of application. But patents are just as patents and copywriting is just as critical as is trademark registrations. But there is such a technical side to it that you do need to talk to an IP lawyer about it. Patents and copywriting is looking directly at the back end of the product that you are looking to sell into China. And if you don't get that done as well, then you can't sell. But a first simple step will be at least to get your brand assets done. And patents can happen later, and copywriting can happen later. If you can do it all at the same time and you've got the financial resources, that is also something that I would recommend doing. But unfortunately, I don't have that level of expertise, and you really should be talking to IP lawyers that have employees on staff who have experience with your product types. That would be my tip for you in terms of patents and copyrights. You also want to talk to IP lawyers that have copyright experience. And just as a note, there are law firms out there that only do IP. A handful. They are IP law firms. That's all they do. Patents, copyrights, trademarks. And normally for trademarks, they themselves don't necessarily do the trademark registrations. Their fees will be quite high compared to the corporate service providers, but they can do the litigation around the trademarks. But they are really experienced more on the patents and the copyright side of the businesses. So I would definitely speak to them if you need to do those types of applications. Yeah, and I hope I helped answer that question. There's nothing else that's popped in. I can stay on for a couple more minutes. And if you do want to type something in, let me know. And just to reiterate, before I end, I'm just going to mention one thing. Just remember, if there's one thing I ask you to do after today's session, it's this: evaluate the financial value of your brand. Estimate what it is and tell me whether you're looking to lose that out for the Chinese market. Or if you want to do another exercise, evaluate what are the top 10 jurisdictions you want to do international expansion into. And do me a favor, at least in those top 10, get all the registrations done, not just China, but in the top 10 that you want to expand to. Make sure you get them done. And as a personal favor, please make sure that you at least register them in your home jurisdiction where you're actually operating. So to end today, we've got 4 more sessions in this webinar series about getting ahead of the growth opportunity. Corporation blueprint, which is what decisions you actually have to make when you are incorporating China, because there's a lot of roadblocks just in that process. Then we're going to look at how to start your business with your Chinese accountant. And we're going to look at certain things around, are you going to outsource? Are you going to in-source? Do it in-house? How are you going to communicate? Where do problems lie when you are coordinating things with Chinese accountants? What are my tips for actually avoiding those pain points? Then it's how to recruit and employ your first hires in China. Again, there, it's where do I find people and how do I employ those people if I don't have an entity on the ground, or even if I do. And then it's how to choose the right people for your corporate management structure, which is something that a lot of individuals are hesitant about holding those roles because they don't understand what the liabilities are around them, how, if worst case scenario, something happens, how it might impact them. So that webinar is really to just calm everyone down, to say it's not that big a deal. And we have to put in corporate governance to protect you. So if you want to register, then please do so at woodburnglobal.com/events. Jiyoung just wrote, we have filed IP a year ago, still waiting. Is there a risk someone is infringing our trademark? Yes, there is, because they might not know that you've registered it. So unless you are using a monitoring service to check out whether somebody is using it in the market, then somebody could be using it. Absolutely. But even if you've registered your mark, Jiyoung, somebody else can be using it. There could be somebody in China using Woodburn Global, and I have no idea about it unless I'm monitoring it. So people can still utilize your brand name if you're not monitoring it, which is why I'm saying find a monitoring service that can help you track. But I say this for every jurisdiction, right? I mean, it's not just unique to China, okay? But yeah, there could be somebody that's using Woodburn Global in China, for sure. Might not be doing what I'm doing, but could be using it. Could be building a reputation. Could also be somebody who is using Woodburn Global for the same services, and I'm completely unaware of it. Has it maybe a different logo, different way of displaying the name, but still using Woodburn Global. So yeah, that's why I'm recommending the monitoring service. Jiyoung, I hope that answered your question. I'm going to stay on again for a couple more minutes, but I will stop the recording. And if you've got any other questions, let me know. I wish everyone a fantastic day and hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care and goodbye.